Pleasant good morning to all our viewers online, special invited guests, and to our panel. I am Serrano Lewis. I am attached to the laboratory department, and I will be your host for today. On our panel, we have Father Jared Paul, who is the Managing Director of Spiceisle Imaging Center. Immediately to my right, we have Ms. Laurie Mars, who is a laboratory technician, Ms. Diomela Klein, who is our laboratory supervisor, Mr. Michael Regis, our admin, sales and marketing supervisor, Ms. Shalene John, our quality supervisor. Last but not least, joining us virtually from Jamaica, Mr. Ian Emmanuel, consultant who has been very crucial and instrumental in bringing us to the process of accreditation. Okay, first we would have Mr. Michael Regis to give us the welcoming remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Lewis. To the media personnel that are joining us here on site, those of you that would be joining online and is joining us online right now, maybe via Facebook and or radio, we want to say definitely thank you for gracing us with your presence. A little bit of a backstory. Some of you may know or may not know this, but 20 years ago, Spiceisle Imaging Center, the brainchild of the late Dominic Paul, became a pioneer here in Grenada via the health sector. Spiceisle Imaging Center was the very first private clinic to provide CT scans to Grenadians. And this is a service for the most part. As you know, most persons would have had to travel or leave the island of Grenada in order to receive same. Today, we are recognizing and we are celebrating yet another milestone and a very important moment in the history of Spiceisle Imaging Center, and also believe for the island of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique as well. We are the first and the only medical laboratory on island that has now achieved international accreditation. And to be more specific, it's the ISO 15189-2012 accreditation. My colleague, Ms. John, is going to provide some more context as to what that means. And again, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for gracing us with your presence here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Regis, for that hearty welcome. We will now call on Ms. Shalene John to take us through the process of accreditation.
Good morning, and thank you, Ms. Lewis. Good morning to all the members of media joining us here this morning, as well as to all the viewers and listeners joining us online. My name is Shalene John, and today I will be presenting on Spiceisle Imaging Center, Inc. Laboratory's Journey to Accreditation. Okay. So the objectives for today's presentation are to firstly define the term accreditation. Secondly, I would introduce ISO and the international standard used by medical laboratories. Lastly, I would provide an overview of our journey to achieving accreditation. Accreditation. The term accreditation is defined as a procedure by which an authoritative body gives formal recognition that an organization is competent to carry out specific tasks. These tasks are outlined in documents known as standards, which are developed and published by the International Organization for Standardization, also known as ISO. ISO is an independent, non-governmental organization which acts as a bridge between the requirements of businesses and the needs of users and consumers. ISO develops, publishes, and provides international proprietary standards for various industries and businesses, such as manufactured products and technology, to food safety, agriculture, and healthcare. ISO, in its earlier years, mainly developed technical standards for products and technology. But in the 1980s, ISO began developing process standards, known as the ISO 9000 Quality Management System Standards. ISO 15189, titled Medical Laboratories, Requirements for Quality and Competence, is the specific standard used by medical laboratories. ISO 15189 was created based on ISO 9001, titled Quality Management Systems Requirements, and ISO IEC 17025, titled General Requirements for the Competence of Testing and Calibration Laboratories. Currently, ISO 15189 is on its 4th edition, which is ISO 15189-2022. However, Spiceisle Imaging Center has received accreditation to ISO 15189-2012 version. This therefore means that upon our next assessment, scheduled for April 2025, we would have to transition and prove compliance to the current version, ISO 15189-2022. One of the requirements of ISO 15189-2012 standard states that a quality manager is appointed, however named. On July 1st, 2020, I joined the team here at Spiceisle Imaging Center as a quality control officer and was thrilled to learn that about the company's commitment to seeking accreditation. This ambitious goal not only demonstrated Spiceisle Imaging Center's dedication to enhancing its services and continually improving its standards, but it also showed that we were willing to elevate our already established procedures and deliver even greater value for our clients. This commitment to improving quality and meeting the high standards within the industry deeply resonated with my own goals as a public health graduate who has always believed in the importance of delivering exceptional services that prioritize patient safety and their well-being. Therefore, joining a team that shared that vision was incredibly motivating for me. When I started my tenure here at Spiceisle Imaging Center, I encountered documentation that had been established since 2018. However, being the first medical laboratory on our island to seek and achieve accreditation, we faced the challenge of having no established blueprint to follow. Additionally, we were unable to find any qualified individual available locally to provide training and mentorship to myself and the other laboratory personnel. After months of unyielding attempts at seeking mentorship, in May 2021, we were able to engage and solidify a working relationship with Dr. Ian Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel is a quality management consultant with over 25 years of experience and was previously employed at the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation. He is also a qualified auditor with extensive audit experience across organizations in Jamaica and other Caribbean islands. Between June and July 2021, Dr. Emmanuel and Ms. Miller, his associate, conducted a gap analysis with our laboratory staff. The goal of this audit was to determine Spiceisle Imaging Center's current operations compliance, or lack thereof, with ISO 15189-2012 standard. The following month, Dr. Emmanuel presented his findings from the gap analysis. These findings gave us an idea of how much work we still needed to get done in order to achieve accreditation. Between January to February 2022, Dr. Emmanuel traveled from Jamaica to Grenada to provide our laboratory staff with relevant in-person training on ISO 15189-2012 standard, along with other relevant sessions. Between March and August 2022, a few of the staff took part in a number of in-depth training sessions conducted by the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation. While acquiring the necessary knowledge through the aforementioned training sessions, we reached out to the two accreditation bodies within the Caribbean, which are the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation, also known as JANAC, which has been recently rebranded to JANAC Global Accreditation, and Trinidad and Tobago Laboratory Accreditation Service, also known as TT Labs, to ascertain the accreditation processes and costing. After deliberation, JANAC was chosen as the accreditation body Spiceisle Imaging Center would use on its journey towards accreditation. Notably, JANAC Global Accreditation is an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment, and Commerce in Jamaica. And most importantly, JANAC Global Accreditation is the sole agency in the English-speaking Caribbean which offers internationally recognized accreditation for testing, medical laboratories, and inspection bodies. As preparation for accreditation continued, on the 4th of January 2023, we were able to submit our application for accreditation. On the 20th of January 2023, we were provided with our document review report in which a number of nonconformities were identified. Clarifications were sought from JANAC for a few of the nonconformities, and from the 9th of February to the ending of May 2023, focus was placed on reviewing, amending, and creating documents to address the findings from the document review report. By July 6, 2023, all of the amended documents were submitted to JANAC. Approximately 2 months later, on the 11th of September 2023, we were provided with the proposed date for our on-site assessment, which was scheduled for the 10th to the 12th of October 2023. Between the 10th to the 12th October 2023, our Carenage main branch and our Grenville sub-collection office were assessed. On the 12th of October 2023, our closing meeting for the on-site assessment was conducted. During this meeting, we were provided with our findings, along with the date at which we were required to submit the evidence of our implemented corrective actions. On March 15, 2024, after submitting all of our evidence showing the implemented corrective actions, we were informed that all of our nonconformities were now closed by our lead auditors. On May 10, 2024, we were elated to be informed that Spiceisle Imaging Center, Inc. Laboratories was granted accreditation to ISO 15189-2012 standard for the full scope submitted for accreditation. This scope included 4 examinations: complete blood count, also known as the CBC examination, blood grouping, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, also known as ESR, and sickle cell screening. This achievement among the 4 examinations that I have just listed have now set us well on our way and serves as a framework when carrying out our other examinations. Having already gained accreditation in the 4 examinations under the hematology department, we are projecting by April 2025 to increase our scope of accreditation with examinations within the chemistry, serology, and other departments. This concludes my presentation on Spiceisle Imaging Center's laboratory's journey to achieving accreditation. Thank you all for your attention. I will now hand you back over to Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, Ms. John, for that extensive overview. We do appreciate. Now, before we move forward, I think it's only fit that we can have Dr. Emmanuel maybe shed a little more light on this journey for us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lewis. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Grenada. Good morning to the Eastern Caribbean and to wheresoever this broadcast is being beamed. It is a pleasure when you get an opportunity to work alongside people who are clearly committed, not just to quality in results of and their operations overall, but to quality in human relations, just to quality overall. And so it really was my pleasure to have joined with Father Paul and the team in this journey to accreditation. I just want to, and Miss John would have done tremendously well. And so I want to point out just a couple additional things. Any journey to quality requires commitment from top management, from the leadership of the organization. And there was no question about Spiceisle Imaging Center and its commitment led by Father Paul and the entire staff. You know, it really was my pleasure. Father Paul will tell you, when I got that call on a Friday evening as I was with my children, and as fate would have it, a number came up and Father Paul was on the other hand. And since then, it has just been a wonderful experience working with the management and the staff at Spiceisle Imaging Center. What Miss John spoke to was a process, and it required documentation change, and I would have provided training and hand-holding support in this regard. But what I want to highlight is that for accreditation and for quality to become the hallmark of an organization and to deliver quality in all aspects of its operation and to deliver quality, accurate results, an organization is required to ultimately evolve and, you know, and just to in terms of a cultural evolution. And I would have had the pleasure of witnessing that cultural evolution at the Spiceisle Imaging Center. That cultural evolution that recognizes the importance of engaging clients and stakeholders generally. That cultural evolution of recognizing the value of engaging all stakeholders, internal and external. That cultural evolution that requires and recognizes the importance of improvement in communication. That cultural evolution that recognizes that a system, as the quality management system ultimately is made up of elements, but each of these elements must be talking to each other, must be communicating. And so we set out on that journey of that cultural evolution. Because, ladies and gentlemen, achieving accreditation is one step, but maintaining accreditation is the more significant element of all of that. And in order to maintain accreditation, we need that cultural transformation, that evolution that leads to that transformation. And I'm happy, it was my joy to see every moment of that evolution in the skills and capacity of individual, evolution in the organization and how it treats with important aspects of its operation. So all of these were very important. And so as Ms. John spoke, we ultimately closed those gaps to ensure that we were meeting the requirements of the international standard ISO 15189. And let me just point out that the 2012 version to which we are accredited was the only version at the time to which we could have been accredited, because we started the journey with that 2012 version. The 2022 version, of course, was only published on December 5th, I think, 2022. So now we will do the next step of transitioning to the 2022 version, which is not a significant step. And so we're committed to doing that within the year. So again, Ms. John spoke of us being subjected to assessments from an authoritative body. And as it was told, JANAC, the Jamaican National Accreditation Body, was chosen because of its international recognition, which I'm going to speak to quickly before I close. And so what it gave Spiceisle Imaging Center Laboratory is a claim that our operations are as good as, if not better, than the operations of medical lab, similar to what we are doing in any parts of the world. So whether or not the service is being delivered in Washington, in London, in Johannesburg, you name it, anywhere across the globe, the services of Spiceisle's Imaging Center can be seen to be on par in terms of accuracy, in terms of quality of service overall. And so JANAC was chosen as the accreditation body. And so they conducted an assessment, and that assessment, after we had prepared, was done. Yes, we were a little disappointed with the number of findings, but again, the commitment of the staff, the leadership of Father Paul, Miss John, Miss Klein, and the whole team, and how we came together to have those non-conformities and other findings that were identified closed in quick time, because my experience, and I would know that labs take significantly longer time to close findings, certainly of the numbers that we got. And so we were able to close it all in 4 or 5 months. And that was tremendous accomplishment, again, because the lab has achieved also significant improvement in terms of the quality of internal operations, how the staff work together as a team. And I want to emphasize that team and teamwork. And so what that accreditation has done is to elevate the operations of the Spiceisle Imaging Center Laboratory to, of course, to be on par or better than lab operating in any parts of the world. And so again, let me say of my great pleasure to be able to have worked with and continue to work with the Spiceisle Imaging Center. And I just want to say to customers, to clients, to physicians who would be questioning who to go to for their services in medical laboratory services, that the Spiceisle Imaging Center is your place to go, because as the tagline say, they have chosen to take a place of leading the way in Grenada and the Eastern Caribbean. But thank you very much, everyone. And again, the Spiceisle Imaging Center has demonstrated its quality. And so the recommendation is that this is where you do your business. Thank you very much. All the very best to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel. We do appreciate your insight. Moving forward, we will have Ms. Diamela Klein, our laboratory supervisor, to share with us some of the challenges that we would have undergone through this process.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diamela Klein. I am the lab supervisor. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be here celebrating such an achievement in the life of this company. However, as we know, success never comes easy. It requires hard work and effort. In the process of becoming accredited, we meet several challenges. Some of the challenges were: first, understanding ISO 15189 2012 standard for medical laboratory, which require us to participate in several training courses and meet with our consultant. All of this took time and dedication. Another challenge we facing was the change in the culture and mindset. Initially, adapting to ISO 15189 standard was difficult. We had to modify what we were familiar with, and we have to be accepted as laboratory in order to meet the standard. The process involved intensive documentation of the quality management system, training record, procedures, personal file, laboratory safety, user manual, work instruction, and so many more. The time taken to train staff was also a challenge. We did not interrupt our daily work operation, so in several evenings after work staff had to participate in long training sessions. That was very exhausting. After training staff, we had to ensure that they were applying what they learned from the standard, and that took additional time to supervise and monitor each staff member in the different departments. With this new standard requirement, our customer service department encountered some of the challenges when communicating with our doctors and patients, such as educating them on proper sample collection and transportation, and ensuring that doctors' referral forms are legible and contain all the requirement information. I can mention other challenges, but these were some of the common ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Klein. Okay. So now we would call on Father Gerard Paul, our Managing Director, to give some general remarks.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone, listeners, and those who are gracing us with their presence online and so on. We are so grateful to have you in our presence. Without you, our exercise would obviously be one in futility. What we are announcing today, dear friends, and we are celebrating, is an international vote of confidence in the work of our laboratory. An international vote of confidence in Spiceisle Imaging Center. What we are celebrating today speaks to the quality of the product that we produce at Spiceisle Imaging Center, the quality of the healthcare services offered by our laboratory. It also demonstrates, beyond a doubt, our commitment to the healing of the nation. It demonstrates as well our commitment in that we have put our money where our mouth is. It has cost us tens of thousands of dollars, US dollars, to accredit the laboratory. But we persevered nonetheless. Ever since the establishment of Spiceisle Imaging Center 20 years ago, the emphasis has always been on quality, 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 constant improvement in quality. If there is any doubt about our commitment to quality, it should all vanish now with today's proceedings. Accreditation has decisively spoken to our commitment to quality. And obviously, accreditation in itself, just to speak of the term or just to be able to say that you're accredited, speaks of the quality that you are. We have done at the highest level what we needed to do to contribute to the health of our peoples, putting them on the good road to personal health and well-being, wherein they can live up to their commitments to family, to friends, to loved ones, to prosperity and the enjoyment of the good life which we all want. Once again, we are very happy in the face of having received accreditation for our laboratory. We are very happy, we are very proud that we are, in fact, leading the way, as was pledged by our motto 20 years ago. The previous speakers have all spoken to the significance of accreditation, but I just will browse on it for a moment. it speaks to the consistency in the competencies in the international testing procedures that we engage in here. We are not just doing a thing. We're not doing something wherein we are oblivious to the international standards, but we are actually living by the international standards of laboratory testing. So, for example, if we have in our laboratory Tom, Dick, and Harry, what accreditation has done is to assure our clients, our stakeholders, that our medical technologists, Tom, Dick, and Harry, they're not operating based on their mood, on their feeling today, what side of the body they slept, or if they have a headache today, or even if they're having a little bit of tabanca these days. What they do in the laboratory is based on the standards and have come as a result of the rigorous processes of training, of developing good habit, developing the world-class practices and procedures and processes and following them, the right attitude, the right aptitude. The years of preparing for accreditation has changed, as pointed out by Dr. Emmanuel, the culture of the lab, the behavior, and the importance of the human element in everything we do, the human touch. Some people are very technically good, but they have no human touch at all. We know that some doctors are very, very good at what they do. They have no bedside manners, and we all complain about that. Accreditation brings us to the place where the human touch is an essential part of what we do every day. We're also celebrating that we are a first not only in Grenada, but in the OECS. We are the first laboratory in the OECS to be accredited to the standards of ISO 15198. Our research continue to show we may be proven. Don't think we may be proven wrong, but even in Barbados and Trinidad, they are not laboratories. Just this morning, I saw a website posting about being big in the move to accredit laboratories in Trinidad and Tobago to the standard of ISO 15189, but I haven't seen, and not only me, we haven't found any other laboratory in those areas accredited, that region. So it speaks to the test results accepted anywhere in the world, as Dr. Emmanuel says. Grenadians traveling for medical purposes, as far as laboratory tests are concerned, the test in which we are accredited, the nightmare is over. The nightmare of doing a whole lot of tests here in Grenada, and then you go to the United States, England, Europe, and you just have to throw all those results and test all over again for big US and Euro dollars. You don't have to spend that money twice. Now you know that. All our accredited tests here in Grenada are accepted everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. This also speaks to medical tourism. We have in Grenada projecting and speaking of medical tourism. Tourism is big in the country. Well, there is an accredited lab in Grenada where tourists can be assured and can feel happy to come to Grenada, knowing that if anything happens or if they just want to do their test while they're here, they can do it. It will be accepted anywhere. Our accredited test will be accepted anywhere in the world, and we are on the ISO International Standards Organization website, so they can discover that for themselves, and many nationals from the diaspora can come to Grenada and enjoy their holidays and do their test simultaneously. As we celebrate 20 years of existence next month, and 10 years since the passing of my brother Dominic Paul, our founder, accreditation of our laboratory is a landmark for his mission and vision statement, which speaks to world-class healthcare in Grenada. His mission and vision statement speaks to that world-class healthcare in Grenada. Now that he has heard about that accreditation, the accreditation of Spiceisle Imaging Center laboratory in a number of tests, I am sure he is laughing on his way to the gates of St. Peter. Or he probably better yet jumping up all over heaven and people wondering what he's getting on so far. He is simply celebrating the dream that he had long ago. In a so-called third world country, we produce first-class laboratory results, world-class laboratory results for the first world, and they cannot refuse our accredited results. Further, for the sake of accreditation, I think Dr. Emmanuel did mention accreditation is not just a certificate or a badge to show off. It's an ongoing process. We are going to be assessed periodically, and we must live up to the standards. In fact, a laboratory like ourselves, we can lose our accredited status if we fall beyond the standard. And the whole standard and the whole process is geared, it has its inbuilt requirements, procedures, practices to ensure that accreditation is lived up to. Finally, my dear friends, I would like to shout very high praises and congratulations to Ms. Diamela Klein, our laboratory supervisor, to Ms. Jillian John, our quality officer, to Dr. Emmanuel, who appeared a while ago, our consultant from Jamaica, who gave us invaluable help. And we really built a good fraternal relation over the time and continue because he's continuing to work with us. So I'd like to express my congratulations and praises to those mentioned, as well as to the entire team at the laboratory. But last and not least, the people of Grenada that have supported us wholeheartedly throughout the years we have been in existence. You have led the way, the laboratory department, the other departments will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Paul. Okay, we will now open the floor for questions. You can show by raise of hands and you will be acknowledged.
Give her the mic. Give her the mic. Give her the mic.
Good morning.
Good morning.
With the expectation of higher standards going forward from your customers, and with the saying that quality is the reflection of cost, and you have mentioned how much it has costed you so far, can customers expect increased cost for your services eventually?
To give you some background, just to step back a little bit to answer that question, historically, we have not been big in the pricing department at all. The vision of my brother has always been to make health possible for everyone, or as possible as is possible. So we're not concentrating on raising price. There may be instances where prices have to be raised. For example, reagents, which is the basic nutrients, for want of a better word, the basic ingredient that is used for the test in the laboratory, the price is always going higher. We are fighting hell hard. Ms. Klein is working very, very hard from the Chinese perspective to get lower prices for reagents to be able to keep as far as possible the price of our test. So any increase in price will be very, very marginal. We remain very mindful that, let me put it this way, if you have a laboratory in which 20 people can afford to come in every day and you charge $10 for, let's say, just as an example, you will make 20 tens, $200. Now, if you have a laboratory where you can afford 100 persons, then you can charge $5, and then you will still make $500, $300 more than if you can only afford. So that is our vision. Our vision is to make the price affordable as possible. You know, life is not getting easier for anybody. We are human, and we talk about our journey, our human journey in the process. And in the process, we became even more aware of how difficult it is for so many people to come to do their test, whatever test, laboratory test, radiology test, to go to the doctor, to go to our pharmacy here and so on. We have become more increasingly aware and feel the pain of people. Sometimes entire families have to put together just to send somebody for a test, and sometimes they hardly even making the money. So we're quite aware of price, and we are not in the business of saying, well, oh boy, we spent X amount of money, we have to make that back. We're going to make it by and by.
I just want to, I smiled when I heard the question. True story. And I made this confession to Father Paul as well. Now, before joining this company, I was of the opinion, and don't ask me where I got this from, but I, in my head, had the thought that Spiceisle Imaging Center was like one of the most expensive places. I'm telling you, maybe it's the building, maybe it's the 3 floors, I have no idea, but, and again, I don't know where this came from, but I had this misconception that Spiceisle Imaging Center is just really an expensive place, and I would never take my child or myself here because I don't think I can afford it. So when I joined the company, I was like blown away at the pricing, and I'm asking myself, well, how is it that every Grenadian is not flooding through the door? Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of persons who understand and understands the value that the company presents, but from a pricing standpoint, I don't really think so. Where else can you go in St. George's here and get a doctor's consultation for $65? I'm waiting, right? So this company, and as Father Paul has rightly said, there's not a whole lot that's been happening within the price space in terms of, us having very high prices. We've done our research, and we can tell you, comparatively to other places, we are like one of the lowest places you can ever go to get, and not just for doctor's consultation. I'm talking about laboratory testing. I'm speaking about ultrasounds. I'm speaking about x-rays. I'm speaking about everything. So if you haven't tried Spiceisle, I'm just saying, try it and you let me know. But we are definitely very, very cost effective. I just wanted to add that part.
Father Paul, I listened very carefully to what the panelists have been saying. And I seem to get the impression that you're making a pitch to the local doctors in particular, who have been referring, and I know that for a fact, the patients to other laboratories to do certain tests, especially blood works. Questions have been raised about the quality that is coming from Spiceisle imaging. So I kind of suspect that you're making a pitch to tell them it's now okay to do business with us because we have reached that ISO standard.
So I'll say
I have
more.
some more questions, but I'll ask them one at a time.
You see, attaining accreditation, as we said, is a process. And we started, I think, way back in 2016. So there's been a constant improvement in our processes. And with the establishment of a quality management system that we have to follow to a T, that has just brought us more and more to where we want it to be. So I want to clarify, it's not so much that, it's not as if we were down there and now we have arrived up here. There's been a constant process of improvement from the establishment of the laboratory in 2012 to now that has taken us to accreditation. And that's why I also emphasize that accreditation is not just a badge that we have. We have been practicing quality over time, and accreditation is just accentuate that point. It just make that point that we are accredited today, not just because we just got there, but because we were consistently working until we are accredited now. And the task for us is to maintain our accreditation. Yeah, we are a business and we have to make a pitch. The pitch is more that people get a better understanding of what accreditation means. When you go to accredited laboratory to do tests, the guarantee that you have that you don't necessarily have if you go to another lab, because they have not been through the rigorous process of accreditation. Accreditation has to do with the accreditation of the instruments, for example. So instruments must be working at that particular optimum level at all times. Now, the various tests and so on have to be done on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. The preventative maintenance test, yearly PM test, to ensure that the instrument lives up to that quality. So instrument quality is critical. I mean, you can be in a laboratory where as long as the instrument working, well, it's working, but it's not working to the level. But also the human quality in terms of the technical skills has to reach that level, and not just because someone has studied in some great institution that gets them there. There's been a lot of other training, additional training that has brought people to that level. So it's the personal technical level of the staff is critical. So in other words, when you are accrediting the person himself or herself is such an instrumental part of the accreditation that that person is like, in a sense, accredited to bring the organization to the place of where it is accredited. So I understand your question. We are making a pitch, but it's not in the sense that we were not there at all and now we are there. There's been a constant process, and now we can feel proud. We have reason to feel proud. We have to be very judicious every day in our tests and in the processes that ensure that our staff continue on the same level and improve the level and the instruments and everything, the environment and all. The environment is important as well. I mean, the temperature of the building, all of the nitty-gritties that are involved, we have to ensure that we keep on keeping them at the right level. But that's what it means.
For the poll, I heard a statement made a while ago that, yes, it is factually true that you have been accredited, but there's always that problem that we leave down here with the test results. But when we enter into North America and we go to a medical facility, they don't bother with what we do down here.
Yeah.
They do it all over. So that might be applicable for Grenada, but not out there, because they choose to ignore what we give them and rely on their own facilities to produce the results for their doctors to work with. So it might not be, yes, it's factually what you say, but it's not really true.
Well, I'm not sure of that. Because prior to today, there was no accredited laboratory in Grenada. And accreditation, it's not, well, they may have their prejudices. I believe, they have their prejudices, or you come out in Grenada, what Grenada could produce. And that would have been the prejudice until now. That is no longer going to be the case in the tests that we accredited. Now, remember, a laboratory can do hundreds of tests. So we are not accredited in every area. But the areas that we are accredited have to be accepted. Because when you see that ISO on our letterhead, when you see our stamp, accredited laboratory, it cannot be discarded. Simply, across the medical profession, across the world, it cannot be discredited. They can't say to a Grenadian who has done ESR tests, for example, here in Grenada, blood group tests, here in Spiceisle Imaging Center, well, we are ignoring what you have. No, it can't. It can't. In fact, you can put a fight if anyone tries to do that. Because that's just what accreditation does. In other words, as Dr. Emmanuel made the point, remember the accredited laboratory in Germany, in England, in Austria, wherever, they have used the same standard. And by they being accredited and we being accredited, we are as good as any laboratory in those tests that we accredited, like any other lab throughout the world, any other accredited laboratory throughout the world.
Since you are here, Dr. Paul, there's the next question I want to ask, apart from the ISO. In the past, people have said that, you offer things like MRI, but today you don't, but you can come and get a CT scan. What is the situation with Spiceisle Imaging not being able to offer these kind of services to Grenadians?
MRI and
You said
CT
you used to
scan?
do MRI here before,
Yeah, yes.
but you no longer,
We are not,
what's the problem?
yeah, we're not able to do it right now because Grenada lacks technicians. So we've had to bring technicians all from across the world, the globe, to do our repairs and our maintenance. And that has caused a lot of fallout. So the MRI, as we speak, is in the process, and CT scan, of being repaired. But more than that, we are looking to the time when we are going to get new and far better machines. So we have been engaged in the process of trying to train our own local talents here to be able to do the repairs. But it's a very arduous and very difficult task. So that has been our challenge. I mean, some of the other organizations that have just come on the scene with CT scan, not MRI, we are still the only organization with an MRI. They probably have newer equipment, so they're thriving for now. But there is a deeply ingrained challenge in terms of repairs. I can tell you, for example, a simple matter like the surges in the electricity. When you see the light blinking, even more dangerous than electricity going. When electricity goes, we have a generator that kicks off in 15 seconds to keep the equipment going. When the surges are going like that, they damage the equipment very terribly. Boards are burnt and so on and so forth. And that's the kind of challenge that we face. We're not going to remain here forever. We're not going to remain there forever. We're going to get the equipment repaired, and we, in the near future, are going to get new equipment.
Could you give a time frame instead of saying near future? Could you give
It's very difficult. I don't want to get tied up in a time frame because, okay, so an MRI, for example, you don't just go and buy an MRI. when you pay half for an MRI, then the MRI begins to be manufactured for you. So it's in terms of time, it's not just it's not so easy to calculate. And these equipment, I mean, an MRI is over $2 million, you know, well over $1 million US, you know. So, you know, you have to procure loan, you know. So it's not as easy as it may seem. So I do not want to tie myself to a time frame. I'm saying the near future because fire is blazing under my foot to get it now. Because the competition is rife. There was a time when Spiceisle Imaging Center had the only CT scan in the island, and no matter what, if you were down for 3 months, well, people just waiting to come for you 3 months afterwards. That's not the case today. There was a time, as a matter of fact, cricket was first brought to Grenada because there was a CT scan in Grenada. Cricket would not have been brought to Grenada because there wasn't when there wasn't a CT scan. If a fellow got struck with a ball in his head, you can't put him in the hospital to observe him, and probably he dies before he gets the right attention. Or you can't fly him off when, you know, time is of the essence in the medical field, you know. Yeah, so that's where we are. We are in a position where it is trying for us as well, because we have not been charging the exorbitant prices. You do not have the ready cash to purchase, so you have to go through the processes to come by the cash. But in terms of time, I can see the very near future. But in putting a time to it, the installation of an MRI is a whole process. It's a whole process. Everything has to be ready to the T, and the MRI is taken from the boat and comes and be pushed in there. Not just an ordinary building, a cage with its particular dimensions, Fahrenheit cage. And it's very complicated. It's not as simple as it may appear.
As I have the mic, I'll probably ask one more question, maybe come back again. Can you elaborate on something which I've heard, that people from the OECS, neighboring territories, have been coming into Grenada to utilize your services? Could you tell us what are the kind of services that they have been coming?
From St. Vincent in particular, they used to be coming to MRI to access our CT scan services when St. Vincent didn't have a CT, and then our MRI services in even relatively recent times.
So this has dried up?
Yeah, it has dried up because some of the islands have their own services. But we are looking to the time when we are going to have. So, for example, the present MRI we have, we're going to take you maybe 40 minutes to do an MRI. We're looking to the time when we have a more modern, higher quality machine that can do the MRI in 12 minutes time and so on. It's not claustrophobic and open MRI, that kind of thing. And in that case, we are looking to the time where we're going to turn back the traffic, not out of Grenada, but into Grenada. As we understand, for example, in Trinidad, people can wait for weeks to get an MRI. So we are brainstorming about the possibility of, instead of a guy waiting 6 and 8 weeks in Trinidad to get an MRI, he can fly to Grenada with some arrangement, with a guest house and, you know, a proper arrangement. So he can shoot in and shoot out in 2 days in a daytime and get an MRI done. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Floor is open, feel free.
People are busy to go on the other mission. So big stories are
Okay, so is that all for the questions this morning? Okay, right. So I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone for being here today, for making a special effort to come out. Okay. We would also like to let everyone know that if they can like and follow our Facebook page for updates on the official handing over ceremony from JANAC, where the official certificate will be handed over to Spiceisle Imaging Center. Okay?
For the 23rd of this month, of October, sorry, we will be in touch with you, press people, and we're very grateful again for your presence. We'll be in touch with you for that ceremony, where you can just probably spend a brief moment for the ceremony or the entire ceremony as it will happen.
Once again, we all would like to thank you for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Here ends the official ceremony.
Thank you.